Hi, this is Jamie Castillo, and this is my presentation on parent involvement in sports for PE570 Leadership and Administration on Physical Education. This presentation is going to cover the topics of how parents can be involved, the difference between under-involvement versus over-involvement, and what's a happy medium for the two, the role a parent committee or boosters team plays, effective communication with athletes, parents, and coaches, as well as proper behavior etiquette while attending a competition or being at practice. Before getting into the presentation, I'd like to take an acknowledgement that parents are the foundation of youth sports. Without parents, the athletes wouldn't exist, and without athletes, there would be no team, and without a team, there would be no coaches. So pretty much the foundation comes from parents. The athletes mimic their behavior, and they're extremely influenced by their parents as well as their peers and other people in their household. So it's important to recognize that parents are a big aspect of the team when it comes to youth sports. That's anywhere between club, little league, pre-K sports, all the way up to high school sports as well. There are many ways that parents can be involved in their child's athletics. They can attend the contest. That's a major one. Being present gives the athlete the ability that they're important, that what they're doing makes a difference, especially to parents, because that's who they look up to. Parents can volunteer at various events, whether it's at the contest, like keeping score, running a shot clock, maybe taking stats, or also just being there at fundraising events and other things that are put on by the booster club or by the coaches as well. Being supportive and motivating the athlete at home is a huge way to be involved, and probably also the most easiest. Being in constant communication with the other parents and team coaches. Again, being active in a booster team, we'll go over that later. And then motivating the athlete to practice outside of the traditional setting. And this pretty much just means that you're motivating them to practice at home or practice at the park. And then also practicing with your athletes means a lot to them as well. Of course, with any type of positive parent involvement, there's also negative ways to be involved. One of them is being under-involved. This means that you're not really participating in any type of boosters or volunteer or fundraising. You're not present at practice or contests. And then also not taking the time to ask your athlete or talk about how the sporting events were. So if you're not able to make the practice or the contest because of work or other family related issues, and which is very common for many households, not taking the time to say, like, how did your game go, or was there anything that you need to work on, or how do you feel about your coach? Not doing those things kind of makes your athlete feel like you're not interested in them. In return, they don't feel interested in their sport either. They also feel like it doesn't matter, so they're not going to try as hard. You definitely see a huge shift in that. And then you also have, on the other side of the spectrum, over-involved parents. And these parents attend every practice, every contest. They critique their athletes in front of other people. They may be critiquing other athletes. Sometimes they take it to the extent of saying that the coaches don't know what they're doing, or maybe they know better. They're very outspoken. They don't mind speaking their mind. And then in return, their child specifically may feel a little bit trapped. They can build an anxiety. Research has proven that there is this trait called perfectionism, where the athlete feels that they have to always be perfect, because if they're not perfect in the game, if they're not the best, their parents are going to feel very disappointed in them. So they do have that negative depth. And then also, because of this perfectionism and anxiety, their bodies can become very stressed, which will cause them to burn out and possibly lose the motivation to continue playing the sport. So scheduling attendance of practice, specifically for the parents. Normally, this is an important thing in high school, but for younger youth athletes, the presence of a parent may be mandatory, and the parent just doesn't feel comfortable leaving their 5-year-old with a bunch of random coaches they haven't really met or know about. The need for parents to be at practice to the extent of their athlete isn't necessary. Being away from the practice or not being like right there in the middle of it allows their athlete to have a little bit more of a flexibility. It makes them their own person. They're able to build a little bit more traits. They're able to focus a little bit more at that practice specifically, and allows them to enjoy the sport. Research also shows that the athlete won't feel trapped, like we had stated in the other slide. They feel as if the sports are important and that they have a little bit of wiggle room to make mistakes. They're able to learn on their own. Competition and transportation. So competition, it is very important for the parent to be present. This helps motivates the athlete and as well as the entire team, because it kind of like you build your fan base. You know that there's somebody who's cheering you on, who wants you to do great. And it also helps to promote good sportsmanlike conduct, because when they see the parents going, hey, you're doing a great job, or go, 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 or that was great, or you'll get it next time, that's great sportsmanlike conduct. And the athletes, especially at a young age, they're going to mimic that. They're going to say good job to the other team or to their teammates as well, and that's going to build a really good morale. So the athlete will strive to perform better, and the athlete will also feel important. Again, that's a common thing, that the athlete's going to constantly feel important. Transportation. Now, it may not seem that transporting your child to and from practice or different competitions is important, but it really does. So I encourage parents to take advantage of this, because studies have proven that when you transport your child, you're able to build that bond, because you're kind of giving them a pep talk like, hey, you're going to get this, buddy. You're going to do great. Or, make sure you focus on this, but, you got this. I know growing up myself, my dad would take me to swim meets, and this would definitely push me to be a better individual, kind of get me in the mindset. You eat breakfast, you have the nutrition, you're putting all of that in there. And it's going to boost your ego. It definitely helped mine. And then it creates that bond. I have lasting memories with my dad driving in the car and with my mother taking me from the competitions or practice, because it was just so much more to talk about, and it was something that we can definitely relate to. Forming a parent committee or forming a boosters team for a high school is really important, and making sure that you're involved as a parent, being involved in that type of committee or boosters is also important. The boosters want parents to be present. They want to boost that fan base, so to speak, especially at the high school level. But these boosters can be at any type of club event. A lot of the younger little leagues have boosters when it's like a travel team and whatnot. It promotes commitment. So once you're in a boosters team, they're going to start saying like, hey, we have this fundraiser. Hey, we have volunteers here. Hey, who can donate their time? And going into that, it is important to know that it's a little time consuming as well. But this helps boosts sports participation in the athletes, because they see their parents are so involved. They want to be real involved. It also is essential to have the equal opportunity on funding discussions. So some parents aren't going to be able to save up money to buy gear and different equipment. And being part of these boosters, you can voice that. You can say, hey, this is just too much for me. I want my kids to participate, but I can't afford it. These booster teams are going to understand that. They're going to be like, hey, you can't afford it. I'm sure other people can afford it. Let's fundraise. Let's come up with ideas, so that way overall everybody can participate. You're going to have those kind of athletes, and it's not fair to everyone who can't afford it. I work for the YMCA, and we definitely have scholarships, because we believe that if you live in a mansion, you have great opportunities, but if you live in the barrios, you deserve the same opportunity as that other child. And it doesn't matter really where you come from, as long as you're doing something you're passionate about. So when athletes see that their parents are involved, they get involved. They're going to be like, hey, my teammates are going here because they want to do the car wash fundraiser. I want to help them out. Or we're doing t-shirts for like girl team sports. doing t-shirts for CIF and different things like that. It gets them motivated. They want to mimic that type of personality. There are several different things that the boosters team or parent committee will talk about. We touched base on one of them, and that is budget. So the budget isn't controlled by the boosters team, but it can definitely be influenced by it. So a coach is going to get the budget from their athletic director, and they're going to hand that over to the boosters. The coaches are going to be very prominent in this aspect as well, so it's going to be important to communicate with the coach on a personal level, in a group setting. Being involved is really important in this segment. So if the budget is really low, let's say they didn't raise enough funds the year before, or simply the district had to cut back, that's a common thing. The coaches understand that they're going to present this problem, and it's up to the boosters and the parents to motivate what money the parents should be spending or what should be fundraised. Coming from a swimming aspect, we had to provide our own swimsuits for high school, and a lot of people couldn't afford it. So what we did is we did car washes, we sold candy, we did a bunch of different things, especially snack bar, or sold t-shirts. And this helped our swimmers who couldn't afford swimsuits. Those cost about $50 each. The money was able to be donated to them, or sometimes it was a general cost reduction. So we ended up paying like $15 instead of $50, which was really nice. Another thing to remember about budget, like there's some parents, like I said, they have a lot of money. They're going to donate. They're going to be like, yes, I can donate. It's important as a parent to understand that because you're donating does not mean your child's going to be seen better or get more of an opportunity to have one-on-one practice time with the coach. Just because your dollar signs or your money putting out is higher than the next parent doesn't mean your child's going to get special favoritism. As a coach, it's important to know that as well. And that coach needs to express that to all the parents too. So if you do, be understanding, be respectful in that aspect. And it's not going to make your child any better or any worse. It's just going to help the team overall. The boosters will monitor who's donating because they will recognize that and see who's putting in more. They'll also kind of monitor the coach and be like, hey, coach, I understand they gave you a lot of money, but you're taking your focus from the rest of the team. And being part of that at boosters, again, going back, it allows the parents to be involved and included in that sense of budget, like what is good, what needs to be worked on, where fundraising needs to lie. With budget comes fundraising. Fundraising is very goal orientated. For a parent, they can strive to reach a goal, they know it, but they're also going to instill that in their athletes. The goals are going to be set by the boosters team again, as that parent committee, but what you're going to do, parents can talk to their athletes and be like, hey, we have this goal, you have this goal, go out and raise money, go ask your grandparents to help donate, or maybe there's going to be a car wash, go sell these tickets, go ask your teachers if they're going to be part of the car wash, different things like that. Fundraising, again, is going to help those who can't afford gear or uniforms. It's going to help buy new equipment like balls, maybe tennis hoop, the little mesh that goes on the hoop itself. Baseball, maybe it's going to help buy the chalk for the grass. This also helps pay for the coaches' funding. They have to get paid as well if they're in a high school setting. If it's in like a club team, maybe they have to pay for maintenance, or the referee pays, because you have to pay the dues for that as well. And overall, it lowers the team cost on equipment. So fundraising is definitely a major aspect. Another thing that the parent booster team is involved in is volunteering. So at the high school level, they may not have to volunteer as much, but definitely for club, it is essential because you only have a few coaches. There really isn't much more of a staff for that. So they are going to ask parents to volunteer. A lot of times it's going to be maybe running the shot clock or a scorekeeping or stats and whatnot, because it's only one team. If you're in a high school setting, it's more teams, maybe the students can do it, but parents should be willing to volunteer. Athletes, again, when they see their parents, they'll model that behavior. That's a running theme, and it's one of the primary things that research was showing. So it's important to take that into consideration. Volunteering is an opportunity to communicate with coaches. And although the slide just says coaches, it's also a way for them to communicate with parents. Sometimes if you communicate with different parents, you're able to maybe establish different transportation, like we had said in earlier slides. Or if maybe you can't be present in every single competition. So communicating that with the different parents may help as well. It is important to understand that it is time consuming. You definitely have to add this into your lifestyle, and you have to be willing to understand that type of concept. So, knowing that this is a time consuming project for volunteering, and then adding the necessary hours into your life will be beneficial in the long run. And also in research, it's been found that athletes want their parents to be present and involved in volunteering. They like knowing that their parents are there supporting them, because that's ultimately what it is that it's that support. Maybe it's not a direct cheering, motivating thing, but they can see their involvement, and it makes them feel a little bit more special and important. One of the biggest ways that parents can be involved in sports is communication with the coaches. The athlete's attitude will reflect how their parents are with the coaches. So if the parents are rude and just not understanding, the athletes are going to feel entitled. But there's also the reverse effect. If the athletes are very respectful and they promote the coaches, and they're just like, he's going to guide you, he's going to help you in sports, the athletes are going to feel the same way. There's a huge influence in that part. Parents need to understand that they should not hesitate to voice concern, but they need to do it in a respectful manner. If you feel that your child is not getting the necessary attention, go talk to the coach. There's nothing wrong with talking to the coach and voicing your opinion. Maybe there's something that the coaches see, or they understand, or they happen to see at practice, like your child may not be participating in the best light, or maybe they're goofing around, so there's a lot more to it. Talking to the coaches will let you see what that is. As a parent, coach, and athlete dynamic, the three of you guys can work on emotional outcomes of sports. People are passionate, parents are passionate, athletes are passionate. Sometimes that gets the best of people. And when a coach can see that and recognize it, they can talk to the parents and be like, Sally gets a little too aggressive when she gets upset. We need to work on that. We're not always going to win. Things are not always going to go her way. She's going to have bad calls. We need to work on that emotionally. Parents can work that from the home point of view. Coaches can work that from the practice field point of view. When a parent goes to talk to a coach, it's important to talk about the team's overall performance, not specifically just your athlete. This allows the coaches to be like, they want us to better completely. They want the whole team to better. They're going to have view you in a better light and feel more comfortable talking to you about different things. And lastly, coaches can provide standards and expectations. Some parents aren't present in practice all the time or can't go to competitions. So in a high school level, they may go, my child's the best. They're good at to be varsity. They get all this playing time. And then you go to one competition and realize, no, my child's on JV and they're actually not getting that much playing time. Talking to that coach will say, I have these expectations. This is what we're working on. And your child's just not meeting that marker yet. They haven't really fulfilled the competence for that level of play. So this will help you understand and then take that to your athlete and talk one-on-one that way. So that trifecta approach can be strengthened. Lastly, the etiquette during competitions and contests. This seems to be something that is just easy to understand, but it does happen a lot. Everyone's been to that little league game where a parent starts getting a little too involved, where they're yelling at the umpire. A few curse words may come out, and it's for children who are 5 years old, 6 years old, and where they don't understand the sport to begin with. They're just playing t-ball. But the parents getting so walled up because they want their kid to win. They want their kid to play. They want their kid to be the superstar. So it's important to remember that the event is about the athlete, not the parent's agenda. Yes, we all want our athletes to be superstars. We want them to be that person that carries the team. But that's not going to be the case, especially in youth sports. So this is for the fun of it. This is for the athletes. In high school, it gets a little bit more competitive, but you have to still keep that mindset. This is for the athletes. I'm here to support my child. If things don't go right, I'm still going to be there to support them. So be respectful, not only to your athlete, because there are bullying between parent and child, but also to the rest of the team and the opposing team. Oftentimes you'll see parents yell at the opposing team saying, you know what, for lack of better words, you suck, or why are you playing, you can't even hit a ball, or she's so slow, she can't even swim. That's not respectful. That's very hurtful. And these athletes have feelings. So proper etiquette would be respectful to all athletes on the playing field. Again, going over that, do not bully, which is, yelling, aggressive behavior. Parents may not think they're bullying these children, but sometimes they cross the line. And it's important to kind of pull yourself back, reevaluate your actions. Again, use respectful language, and then also cheer on your athlete. Don't just sit there. Don't just growl at them because they didn't hit anything. Cheer them on, motivate them, make them smile, make them feel important even if they're not doing a great job. That is it for my presentation. To recap everything, my final thoughts is to remind parents that their involvement in sports is important because it's important to the athletes. It makes the athlete feel important. It makes them feel like there's something worth fighting for. You, parents, again, are the foundation of all youth athletics. Without parents, there would be no athlete. They are the ones that bring them to and from practices. They're the ones that motivate them at home. They're the ones that motivate them in competition. It really doesn't matter what the coaches see in an athlete if the athlete doesn't feel that their parents are excited for them. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation and that you learned a lot out of it. And I look forward to seeing a lot more parent involvement in the future.